Record. Okay, well, thank you. Welcome everyone to our OLLI Brown Bag presentation hosted by OLLI. Before we get started, I'm going to do a quick land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that Cal Poly Humboldt is located on the unceded lands of the Wiyot people. Arcata is known as Gudini, meaning over in the woods or among the redwoods. We honor them and all neighboring tribes by our ongoing commitment to develop trusting, reciprocal, and long-lasting partnerships. For a quick reminder, welcome. You are doing an OLLI free experience. We believe in OLLI that learning should never end. We create opportunities for academic engagement, community involvement, personal growth, and fun for adults 50 and better. This brown bag presentation is just one way that we provide learning and community to members and non-members alike. So if you have someone who is not an OLLI member, please still invite them to the brown bags. This is for everybody. What is OLLI? Again, we're for people age 50 and better, but we do welcome anyone over 18. So if you have that son, daughter, grandkid, friend that maybe is 49 years old, they can still join you by being an OLLI member. They just need to be over 18, but we're really focused on people 50 and better. We host classes. These could be a single class. These could be a series of classes, but it covers the gambit of what we do, right? We do technology classes, art classes, music classes, science classes, history. We really are just trying to find classes that are interesting and engaging for all. Membership is $35 a year or $25 if you are current or retired Cal Poly Humboldt staff or faculty. Our membership year runs July 1st to the 30th of June. So we are just starting our spring term and we're finishing that spring term in April. And then we'll be getting started with that new membership year this summer. Here's just a couple benefits that you can peruse if you become an OLLI member. You get benefits like lower class fees. So if you're a non-member, you're still able to sign up for classes, but we do charge you an extra $25 per class. We are a membership-based program, so we really appreciate when people join us as an official member, and that helps with our membership numbers to earn our endowment from Bernard Osher. So thank you for those of you who have become OLLI members. Along with that, you also have a lot of on-campus member benefits, and all of this goes more into detail on our website. I highly recommend, if you're not already on our OLLI newsletter, join our OLLI newsletter. It's the best way to get the most up-to-date information from OLLI. For example, we had a new class added to our spring semester that didn't get into the catalog, and we sent it out to the OLLI newsletter folks. So that's the fastest way to get sort of quick updates. And the way that you subscribe is you go to humboldt.edu/OLLI. The three purple buttons, you click the one that says subscribe, and then you just enter your name and email, and then we sign you up. A couple things about brown bag reminders. We have brown bags, I think, for the next 6 weeks or so. So this is the very first one for spring, but please join us every Monday until the end of our term. We'll have a bunch of amazing instructors and presenters sharing things about our community. And then, like I mentioned, these are recorded and they get put on our YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and you type in Cal Poly Humboldt OLLI, it'll take you straight to our site. If you subscribe to that, then you get notifications and see every time we update videos. Last thing I want to mention is we have another free open for all opportunity through OLLI. It's called Let's Connect. That happens on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. You would sign up to receive the Zoom link by going to our website, and you are invited every week. It's optional if you want to show up. You go when you feel like it. And Tracy Barnes-Priestley, whose picture is here, she is sort of leading different conversations. You're going into breakout rooms, and it's a time for people to get together, connect, share stories, and listen to each other and get to know each other. Here's our contact information if you have any more questions about OLLI. OLLI at humboldt.edu is always the best way to get a hold of us with any questions, and we can follow up with you. But thank you again for being here. And now I'd like to hand over the mic to Jane Woodward, who is our brown bag presenter organizer. She is working behind the scenes to get all of our presenters here and presenting interesting information for our community. So thank you, Jane, and please.
And thank you, Julie. Julie is our OLLI coordinator. She is the magic behind making sure everything happens. If I want something dealt with, I contact Julie. She takes care of it. It's wonderful. And she's also a great presenter herself. So I don't know how many of you got to meet her at the open house, but she's absolutely wonderful. And I also want to say that obviously, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, it would be a really good idea to do so because it also includes the link to the OLLI presentation, the brown bag lunch presentation for the week. And there are 11 of them. This is the first of 11 presentations for the session. We have a new set every session. We'll have 4 in the summer and another probably 11 or so in the fall. Keeps me out of mischief contacting people. But if any of you have good ideas for what you'd like to do and have a presentation on, please feel free to contact me with that. We will have on the newsletter, we will have a link for you to present a proposal. If you'd like to do one yourself on a particular topic. Feel free to submit a proposal, or you can contact me at janepwoodward@aol.com and say, hey, I'm interested in such and so. Would that be of interest to you? So welcome to all of you today. And now is my opportunity to introduce Amy Stem-Faulk, who is the interim general manager of Redwood Empire Public Television, which is KEET TV in Eureka. She served the station since 2018 in leadership roles spanning development, operations, membership, and organizational administration. Amy has helped guide KEET through a major period of transition and restructuring, and is focused on keeping local public media strong through community partnerships, fundraising, and sustainable planning. And I particularly want to thank her since the prior speaker, Jarad, had planned to do this and then we asked Amy to turn it over when he could not do this. So Amy had a few days notice, like, let's go for it. And she said, yes, let's do it. And feel free to put questions, either raise your hand with questions or put questions in the chat so that she can address them. But she's going to give us background on what's been going on, what they've been trying to do to address it, and what the plans are for the future, and what you can do as the public that loves KEET TV, as I do, can help support it. All yours, Amy. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to be here. Thank you, Jane, for allowing me to talk to you guys today. Forgive me, I'm a little bit shy and I had, not a lot of time to get organized. So I'm going to talk to you off of my notes. So here we go. I wanted to talk to you guys today about KEET's path forward and public media in times of change. First of all, it genuinely means something that members of this community care enough about KEET to show up and ask what is happening. In a time when many institutions feel uncertain or distant, that continued interest reflects the value of local public media here on the North Coast. Before discussing the past year, it helps to begin with something foundational: what public media is and why it continues to matter. Public media operates differently from commercial media. It is not structured around shareholder returns or advertising targets. It exists to serve the public interest. That includes educational programming for children, science and history content, independent journalism, arts and cultural storytelling, civic information, and public safety messaging. Public media also provides access. It serves households that may not have paid streaming subscriptions. It supports families and educators. It offers trusted information in moments of uncertainty, and it provides programming designed to inform and connect rather than simply compete for attention. This mission has not changed. What has changed is the funding structure that supported it. In 2025, federal funding that supported public media stations across the country was rescinded. For KEET, that represented approximately $840,000 in annual funding. For a station of this size, the loss was significant. That funding supported infrastructure, programming access, and operational stability. When it disappeared, immediate decisions were required to ensure KEET could remain on the air. Staffing was reduced from 13 to 6 employees. Those reductions were not simple line items on a spreadsheet. They represented individuals who had dedicated years of service. The decision was difficult, but necessary to preserve the station's core operations and ensure continuity of service. At the same time, KEET experienced leadership transition. The executive director retired. A successor stepped into the role and then retired after 1 month due to health concerns. Within a short period, the station was navigating funding loss, staff reduction, and leadership turnover. During that period, I assumed the interim general manager role in order to stabilize operations. When multiple disruptions occur simultaneously, the challenge extends beyond finances. It becomes structural. It becomes operational. It becomes about whether an organization can continue functioning responsibly under new constraints. During the summer, an additional challenge emerged: a significant infrastructure failure at our transmission site. Broadcast systems are complex and aging. When critical components fail, repairs are not simple. Equipment is specialized, often located on remote terrain, and requires technical expertise. Repair costs are substantial, and operational risk is immediate. At the same time, the station lost its longtime engineer. This combination highlighted a serious vulnerability. It also clarified a need for structural change. Continuing to operate through patchwork repairs and emergency response was not sustainable. As a result, KEET began transitioning towards a managed technical services model. This includes managed transmission monitoring, managed encoding services, and managed master control and playout services. The goal is to move from reactive maintenance to proactive oversight, where systems are monitored consistently, support is structured, and risk is reduced. This work is not visible to viewers, but it is foundational. Signal stability and infrastructure reliability are the base upon which everything else depends. During the same period, KEET also experienced change in its development department. A longtime development team member departed, affecting continuity in fundraising and donor engagement. Fundraising becomes more important during a transition like this, not less. At the same time, fundraising is built on trust and relationships, and those require consistency and time. The station is currently in the process of hiring a new marketing and communications lead. That role is strategic. Sustainability is not achieved through expense reduction alone. It requires visibility, clarity of mission, and strong community engagement. Communications is how the public understands KEET's value, and it is how relationships are built. It is how support is invited. Work is underway on a broader communications refresh designed to modernize how KEET presents itself, strengthen alignment with PBS, and reinforce KEET's identity as a North Coast institution. That effort is being approached deliberately so that it is consistent, effective, and built to last. Many community members have asked for a definitive plan, a clear blueprint outlining exactly what the next 5 years will look like. That desire for certainty is understandable. However, this moment is not about producing a document. It is about building a structure that works. KEET is not simply replacing lost funding. It is redesigning how it operates. Infrastructure is being stabilized to reduce outage risk. Fundraising capacity is being rebuilt. Communication systems are being modernized. Revenue streams are being diversified so that no single source determines the station's future. These are operational changes already in motion. A responsible long-term plan is built through implementation, analysis, and adjustment. It evolves from real data and sustainable assumptions. That work takes time and it requires discipline. At this stage, the most effective way to support KEET is through financial contributions. Membership and donations directly stabilize operations, protect infrastructure, and ensure continued public service to the North Coast. They provide flexibility during transition and allow investment in long-term sustainability. Contributions can be made through keet.org using the donation link on the website. Support at any level makes a measurable difference. This past year has been challenging. Funding was cut, staffing was reduced, leadership shifted, infrastructure failed, and key personnel were lost. And yet, KEET still remains on the air. Not because this year was easy, but because the mission remains relevant and because this community continues to value local public media. KEET has served the North Coast since 1969. The station is leaner, priorities are clearer, the structure is being rebuilt with sustainability in mind. The moment is not ending, we're in transition, and work is underway. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right.
That doesn't work. What form of fundraising has been most effective? You have a number of ads on for like donate through your IRA or whatever.
Donor advised funds.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and who handles that kind of inquiry at the office now?
We have a very small team that are wearing a multitude of hats. So, myself, my office manager, Shauna, and I'm bringing on a new communications teammate in the next couple weeks. Her name is Sean. So those are the three of us will be interfacing with donors. All of the data and information needed to donate is on our website as well. We have a legacy giving page, which enumerates the different ways of legacy giving and how to best approach that. So, those are some of the most effective ways to donate. Remembering us in your trust or will is always a beneficial to KEET. Sustainer membership is really the bread and butter for maintaining income. So folks that give consistently monthly or yearly, it is the most effective way of serving KEET or supporting KEET. And those are to do that, it's quite easy. You just go to our website and click the donate button or give us a call and we'll walk you through it. We have a lot of different ways of donating, which we enumerate on our on our broadcast. We're always trying to communicate the best ways of giving. If the community does not give, if we don't receive donations, then we will no longer be able to offer services. Our main income is through membership and community donors. We've been lucky to be included in the Public Media Bridge Fund this year, which is a grant that has allowed stations like us to invest in infrastructure and sustainability in these times of uncertainty, of financial uncertainty. But those grants are not something that we can rely on long term. They're intended for short term use to maintain sustainability. So once again, really, the best way to invest in keeping public media alive on the North Coast is to donate or communicate with your friends and family, your coworkers, all of those folks, the importance of donating and supporting.
Can you talk a little bit about the programs you currently have operating and the ones you're aiming to try to sustain?
Right now, our main programming is through the PBS programming system. We're still maintaining all of the shows that our viewers love and want to have access to. Local programming is something that we had to make serious cuts on when we found ourselves in a pickle because of the rescission of all of the CPB grant funding. So we have found ourselves in a position where reinvesting in local programming is on the top of our to-do list. We have been highlighting local programming from the past over the last few months and bringing back favorite shows that we've worked on. Our production team is reinvesting their energy into creating like low lift, effective local programming at a reasonable cost. And of course, that is complicated. Any programming, you just can see the number signs, floating in the air. There's costs associated with any movement. And so they are getting really creative in fostering program sharing relationships with other smaller stations and creating content to reflect our community that is at a price point that we can sustain.
Do you have people volunteering to present programming? For example, Tracy Burns Priestley used to do a program, and I don't know whether you had to pay for that or whether people volunteered to participate in that. I'm just kind of curious.
Right now, no, we have not had any potential partners that have been free or low cost. We're investigating certain relationships. Tracy's worked with us on and off for years. She's lovely. And right now, our production team is working with her on a project that she's working on that I don't believe will be on our air, but they have a really good working relationship with her. She's sort of she's a staff favorite. She's worked with Sam Green, one of our production producers for years. So, there is some movement there. I'm trying to think. I just met with our production team last week. They do have their hands in a couple pots with some local producers, but it will be some months before those shows are on the air. And I don't have the title of them for you right off the top of my head. I don't have my notes in front of me, but we're working towards working with local producers in a way that it's effective. Ideally, what would happen, the goal is to bring in producers that are bringing with them grant funded projects that are not necessarily being managed in-house, but maybe and then we would have those shows to put on the air, but not be holding the finances for them. So we're working with the ink people on a children's like short form children's bits right now, and that producer is looking for grants to fund a longer form children's show that she would then partner with KEET to put together. We would put it on the air, and then she would be able to take it and use it for other business as well.
Okay, you have a question?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Amy, for stepping up. Bless you. I'm wondering if there's a possibility of having the League of Women Voters forums and those kinds of things on. We've got a really important year coming up for elections, and I've been a part of that before with you, and I know it takes a lot of people to put that together, but a lot of people depended on it too. So just wondering if there is a chance there. I'm not on the board anymore. I've been a past president, but I'm still involved with the league. And I was wondering if you think there might be a possibility of coordinating with them to do that for election year.
Absolutely. Our relationship with the league is, very important to KEET and correlates with our mission. So we absolutely intend to continue our relationship with them, doing civic dialogue and all of those sorts of things. It may change a bit. Like I explained, we are moving to a cloud-based automated master control framework over the next some months, meaning that live productions may be looking a bit different than they used to. We may end up doing pre-recorded we may pre-record those engagements with the league and then put them on the air after they've been edited. We're still working on how live productions are going to be working with our new master control system in the short term. Eventually those kinks will get worked out. But it's sort of a new era for KEET, and a lot of things are going to be we're learning how to do things a new way here. But those relationships we intend to maintain as long as KEET is on the air. Another engagement is program sharing along the lines of like civic conversations. And so I'm in conversations with a handful of stations in Northern California and Southern Oregon to not only continue to maintain those conversations in our communities, but then to share those recorded engagements with other stations, because they're relevant to each other. So, we may have the league's debates here and then share them with stations in Northern California as well, and they will share their debates, and we will then put them on the air as well to kind of like flesh out the conversation in Northern California and Southern Oregon. So that's a goal of ours as well.
Thank you. Gail Gorman asked, is the Public Media Bridge Fund going to last through this year, or will it go away before year's end? Is there any estimate of how much more donor support will be necessary to keep current programming?
The Bridge Fund was a $530,000 grant, and it ends on November 30th, 2026. So, and then they will, if they will be able to, then we'll have the opportunity to reapply for another grant cycle. They are unwilling or unclear on how the next year after 2026 is going to look. So for this year, that grant has been, I don't even know how to best describe it. It's saved the day. It has allowed us to invest in these infrastructure changes that we have to make to maintain our broadcast ability. But it is not something that we can rely on. And so what we're looking at to make up the difference in funding is completely reimagining how we work. And that means cutting the fat in every possible place, looking for income strategically that aligns with our mission, communicating with the community that their support and funding is absolutely necessary to maintain our functions, looking for grants that are very strategic and in alignment with our goals, rather than engaging in grants that are not necessarily aligned with those strategies. And also creating partnerships across Northern California and Southern Oregon to offset programming costs and those sorts of things. Even sharing internal infrastructure and like maintenance agreements and things like that. Right now, across the country, public media stations, both radio and television, are finding themselves in, I mean, the best analogy would be like we're in the Wild West. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It's a whole new frontier. No, not one station across the country says, oh, we've got this. We have a plan for this. You know, we knew that this was going to happen and everything's okay. And so we're all pulling together to support each other and share resources and share strategies and all of those sorts of things. And we're basically all working together to reimagine what public media looks like moving forward. So it's hard to give really definitive answers because everyone is still in the process of figuring out what it's going to look like, especially because losing half of your funding is you know, it can be cataclysmic. There are stations that have not survived. We have stations that are shutting down all across the country. And then we have stations like ours that are, you know, moving forward at a steady pace. But still there's just some unknowns moving forward.
Amy, one of the things we talked about before we started here was that you're maintaining Channel 13. And you have the funds to do that. And you're also able to keep the kids program going. Is that right? PBS Kids and another one. Which one?
FNX, which is
FNX. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
And you talked about why. Describe what that channel is because I don't know how many people have been watching it and why it's so important.
So as you guys may know, KEET has had 5 channels, 5 broadcast channels over the last 15 years. And the decision was made to move to one channel, KEET 13, our main channel, KEET HD, because the cost of maintaining the other 4 channels was not something that we could maintain for a multitude of reasons. One is the operating costs associated with each channel, and the other is the programming. So in October, we discontinued our Create channel and our World channel, which are very beloved by our viewers, and we're all very sad to see them go. And the intent was to also discontinue PBS Kids channel and FNX. PBS Kids channel is 24/7 children's programming. FNX is the First Nations experience, which is, I think, one of the most important channels that we have. It is programming made by and for First Nations people across the world, and specifically in the United States and Canada. And it's really dynamic and really excellent, and something that I think a lot of people don't pay as much attention to as they should. We have been able to coordinate maintaining those 2 channels long term, which is really exciting. So yeah, instead of going from 5 to 1, we're going from 5 to 3. And I think that those 2 channels, despite the sadness of seeing Create and World go, they have excellent programming. And a lot of those shows you can still find on PBS Passport and streaming. The Children's Channel and FNX, I think, really are the most aligned with our mission to maintain, educational, commercial-free, community-based programming. So.
Brian commented, it seems local PBS stations are looking at merging with other PBS stations for economy of scale. Is that true? And if so, with whom?
A lot of stations are investigating merges with each other or larger stations. It is something that at this point, KEET is not actively looking into. It has been something that has been floated as a potentially something that may need to be done to keep strong and alive. Basically, it would be merging with a larger station. But it's not in alignment with our goals as of right now. I'm not sure. I don't have too much to tell you about what other stations have definitively decided for themselves. I was on a meet last week, specifically with about 10 stations, both television and radio, in Northern California and Southern Oregon. And as far as I can tell, all of them have decided to not merge right now, but that is always a potential moving forward. That would mean that the potential, like if we merged with the station in the Bay Area, that would mean that they would be in control of all of our programming, and we would be basically like a
Subsidiary.
subsidiary. We would just be, their programming would be funneled through our infrastructure up here to the North Coast, meaning we would have access to their local programming and their content, but not necessarily be providing community voices by community members locally. So it's not ideal. but it would potentially keep KEET on air if there were no other options. And right now we do have options. So,
To what extent do current contributions, are they sufficient to keep KEET going? How much more do you need to collect? Can you give a number of what you're going to need to keep this ongoing? And by the way, are you accepting car donations and things like that?
so I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, forgive me.
That's
Um,
okay.
but basically we need to have about $840,000 met by varying different income sources. And the major income source would be donations and community supports. Um, and are donors meeting that amount? No, they're not yet. But we have seen a substantial increase in support over the last year, because our community is so aware and so invested. I I don't really have the words to describe like the the monumental support that our community has shown KEET in the last 6 months. It makes me well up with tears and get emotional, so you have to forgive me. Like we have just seen a big uptick in income. But what that's going to look like strategically over the next some years, I can't tell you right now. Whether those donations will trickle down because the political climate changes, as people respond to what is happening outside of KEET, outside of the community and the broader world at large. There's a lot of insecurities and a lot of confusion, and oftentimes that affects the way that people donate. There's like lots of job loss and lots of uncertainty with people, and so that reflects on what they support and how they donate. And I can't foresee how that's going to look in the next year or two. But the response in the short term has been monumentally generous and has allowed us to invest in those infrastructure changes that I mentioned earlier, as well as the bridge funds funding. The goal is to completely reimagine how KEET operates and to maintain a very, very streamlined business that is focused on fundraising and providing excellent programming without a lot of the other costs that were associated with the old school way of running the station.
Martha Hunkins has a question for you. Martha, please unmute.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. One question is there any chance the online auction would be revived, or is that too labor intensive to be worthwhile? And then the second question is about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or I'm not sure I'm using the right term, but that was supposedly dissolved. How is that possible? Isn't that a legal entity? And can you explain anything about that?
So, well, when it comes to auctions, the auction is one of the most popular community engagements that KEET has done. And some years ago, the decision was made to discontinue doing auction because the cost of it is so high, and the overhead is so high that the benefits, the income benefits it didn't weigh out. I have just started a conversation with a fellow that works for, I can't remember the name of the station. It's a Minnesota station, and he is doing a low lift online auction. Coming up here in the next couple months, or they're going to start doing online auctions, and it's going to be like I'm trying to explain, it's not going to be individualized to KEET, but it's going to be open for a multitude of stations, which I think will be really fun for our community members, because it's not just going to be local, local products and local people, but it's going to be, different stations coming together across the country and working together. So that is not wholly fleshed out yet, but is something I'm working on to have online auctions available for our community members to access. It's not going to look the same way as it used to, but it will be functional for both the station and the community. When it comes to the CPB question, it gets a little bit boring. So when the federal government decided to allocate funds for public media, they were very, very, very smart. And I think it was one of the best decisions that they ever made. They realized that political climates change, and they did not want politics to affect the management of those funds. And so they created the CPB, which was actually an entity outside of the federal government that was tasked with managing the federal funds allocated for public media. So that's what CPB was. CPB is a neutral entity created to manage funds that would not be pressured by the political leanings of whoever was in office at the time. The people that wanted public media to stay public and neutral realized how easily that could be shifted depending on, the politics at the time. So they created CPB. Funds were then allocated, given to CPB, and then CPB would disseminate those funds to stations across the country. And that's what they did, without political influence. Now that there are no funds to disseminate, there is no need for CPB, and that is why CPB was dissolved. They don't have a job to do anymore because there's no funds allocated for public media by the federal government right now. That doesn't mean that someday they might not change their minds. There's always a little seed or glimmer of hope that, that up on the hill, they'll change their minds and do the right thing and reallocate funds for public media. But the truth of the matter is it probably won't happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to look like it used to. And so we will see what the future holds. But right now, that is why CPB shut their doors and don't exist anymore. It doesn't affect us like you would think. The closure of CPB is sad, but it's not the end game for public media stations. The potential end game was the actual rescission of the federal funds allocated to support public media across the country.
He said, I'm not sure how Access Humboldt is funded, but is there any possibility of cooperating with them? Or are they in the same sinking boat?
There's been some tentative conversations with partnering with Access Humboldt. KEET has been in a place where we had to pull in and make some really hard decisions and focus on maintaining KEET and keeping things moving. And so the investment in partnership with Access Humboldt, we haven't had the bandwidth to really have those discussions as of yet. It's not off the table, but I haven't had any sort of concrete or functional suggestions on how that would work. They did reach out with a tentative with a document tentatively outlining what they thought would be a, a potential relationship with us. It was not fleshed out or functional for our station to engage with at that point. But it's not off the table. We would love to work with them or partner with them in a way that was sustainable for us.
It sounds like, Amy, that the most productive thing we can do is up our contributions. Is that correct?
It really is. And it's contributing and upping your contributions are the most effective thing right now. And that money goes towards exactly where you want it to go, which is keeping KEET's doors open and keeping your favorite programming on the air. And it's actually really easy. If you want KEET to stay viable and you want us to continue our mission of commercial-free public or commercial-free educational television for the entire community, then donating is what keeps us going. We have other streams of income. We have tower space and properties that we have income from as well, which my goal for the next year is to completely investigate and invest in. I think that we're probably at about 30% of our potential revenue for that. So as we work over the next some years to reinvent that part of our business, we'll see some income growth there to support KEET. But it really comes down to our community and what they want. We're here because the community wants us, and where they put their money and is or their investment in us allows us to give them what they want. And so, yes, I mean, it's easy. Go to KEET.org and donate. Tell your friends if they say, what's happening with KEET? What can we do? Tell them it's easy. Just go to KEET.org and donate. And that will keep our doors open and keep the programming on the TV and allow us to invest back into the community the way that we want to.
He said it was even worse that the funds were lost because of the rescission, which did not give advance notice that funds would not be available. You need not comment on this comment since it's my observation. Yeah. Yeah, good for you, Kay. I just want to say that I would think that the most valuable contribution you would get would be continuous, sustaining, so you would know what your budget would be next month. When if somebody suddenly pops down 1,000, but you don't know what's going to come after that, you're better off if somebody does a continuing, sustaining, whether it's $5 or $30 or whatever it is. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Sustaining membership is the income that we can track. And so absolutely that, and it's very easy to do, and it can be as low or high investment as any individual wants to make. So like you said, anywhere from $5 and up. on a monthly payment schedule is ideal, but we accept any kind of donation whenever, however, you know, um, we we don't we don't judge generosity. We appreciate it no matter what. But sustaining membership truly is it's the bread and butter of KEET.
And is there still a minimum to get the benefit of having access to the programming?
So one of the benefits of being a KEET member and donating $60 a year or more is access to PBS Passport, which is PBS's streaming um, option. So that means that you can watch PBS programs whenever and however you feel so inclined. You're not relying on a broadcast signal. You can tap into PBS Passport and watch and binge watch all of, you know, whatever your favorite Doc Martin or, um, you know, whatever your favorite show is at the time. And so that's a $60 a year or more benefit of donating to KEET. But it's not necessary to donate that much if you're not inclined. It really, like I said, we don't turn our nose up at any sort of donation. So
And who manages Passport? How do you all have access to that?
so Passport is it is a PBS asset. Um, the the local Passport is managed. It's complicated and it's kind of boring, but basically through our CRM, which is our database, our membership database, we are given notification about every person's donation history and how they're donating. And if you're Passport eligible, then a team member here at KEET turns on your Passport and manages it that way. But then the actual asset of Passport is managed through PBS. The programming and all of those assets are not something that KEET has control over. We're sort of we offer it as a benefit, but it's managed through PBS, I should say.
This is a super dumb question. Is PBS actually a functional entity somewhere?
Yes, PBS is its own corporation. It's its own business, yes. And we KEET is a PBS member, meaning we pay annual membership fees to access their programming catalogs. And with that membership comes all sorts of different benefits and assets. So, they provide huge amounts of educational options for member stations. They offer, fundraising guides for member stations. They, offer grants associated with different shows for member stations. They offer PBS Passport as a benefit for member stations to offer to their community. All of those things, but they are their own entity, and KEET pays to be a member station. And the way that we pay to be a member station is through donations and memberships to KEET from our community and from supporters.
I have asked a zillion questions. Has anybody else got a question? I hope you don't mind. Okay, any other thoughts? No other thoughts? Then I want to thank you all for coming today and tell you about our February 23rd, which is next Monday, is going to be about Life Plan Humboldt, what is new and exciting about Humboldt Commons. It's a nonprofit developing an active senior community in the McHenryville Town Center, now called Humboldt, renamed as Humboldt Commons. They're going to talk about the progress in developing this nonprofit resident-led life plan community. You can get the updates on the development timeline, the future residents priority list, which is a waiting list, architectural plans and answers to your question. And I do
Jane,
let them come
Jane,
and talk.
Jane, Kay has another question in the chat that you haven't
Oh, I'm
seen.
sorry. Okay, it says I have been advised that I should make my donations through QCD's qualified charitable donations. Can I donate what I would do as a monthly and advise you that it's my yearly or bi-yearly intention so you can plan? That's a good question.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely.
So just let you know that that's what they're doing.
That's
Thank you
amazing.
for the
Thank you so
reminder.
much.
Anybody else have anything to add here? I just wanted to mention that I do invite Life Plan Humboldt to give us a periodic update because it's important. This is one of our community innovations that they've been working for years to develop. And it's another situation where our contributions are important to make this available to any or all of us who want to participate. And they are making progress. So we now have Humboldt Commons coming, and an update will be occurring next week. Thank you so much for coming, and please invite all of your friends, if possible, to join OLLI because we're trying very hard to get to our 1,000 membership, which is what they'd like us to keep going. It's been $35 a year for years, and I think it's going up to $45 next year. That's under consideration. But it gives you access to all these brown bag lunches, to Tracy Barnes Priestley. You have reasonable prices for courses, and we'd love to have you participate and your friends. And thank you ever so much from Janina and myself, and I think all the people are here. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Hey, that's cute. I love these fun things we can do at the bottom. Our reactions. Yeah, let's go for it. I think these are fun to have these reactions. They make me laugh. Anything that makes me laugh makes me happy these days. Kathleen, oh, you were just saying that's good. All right.
Thank you, Amy. It was wonderful.
Yes. Happy President's Day. May the historical ones do wonderfully, and be kept in our history, be preserved in our history. We'll see what happens. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.